of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, 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 not God Bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human. God damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
Sorry to bother you fuckers. This is Goddamn America. This episode's already off the rails. Hello, this is Jake Flores. As usual, I have with me Alex Pacheco.
Sorry to bother you.
Rock of Meta.
Sorry to be here.
And special guest from the Katie Halper Show and from comedy, Gabe Pacheco.
Disculpame.
Yeah.
His catchphrase.
What does he say?
All apologies, baby. All apologies.
It's
Like vintage Nirvana in here.
Yeah.
The only kind.
That's a great
They
point.
weren't around very long.
I'm like the guy who doesn't know Kurt Cobain is dead. What?
I miss him.
You're like, hey, you guys, I just found this new band on Spotify. It was suggested to me.
I just started wearing plaid. What the fuck do you mean?
Hey, sorry to bother you. How about Sorry to Father You? It's a show about not fathering your kids.
Absentee dads.
Partying instead. Going on Maury and getting real mad. Okay. Sorry. Stealing Cumtown jokes.
My dad's fucking a horse.
So, just right up top this week, I want to talk about a couple of things before we get into the sort of news of the week. First one is I just made my debut appearance on Israeli television in the middle of the night, talking about Antifa.
Shalom.
Is that a mitzvah?
Am I a man now? Yeah. So, I've instead of stepping on the glass and breaking it, I threw it at a Starbucks window or something. I don't know. So, I went on I-24 this week because there's a guy that works for this like Israeli 24-hour news network that listens to like this show and Chapo and Cumtown and shit. And he got like Adam Friedland to come on and talk about like Israel and stuff as like an American Jew, and like Katie Halper was on the show. I think he had some of the Chapo guys on or whatever, and he asked me a while back to come on and talk about the ICE thing, but they like nixed the, they read it or whatever, and they didn't
We love ICE.
Yeah.
ICE is officially part of the Israeli army, so it would be offensive.
Yeah. And so this stuff happened in Portland last week with there was like a Charlottesville sort of Unite the Right-ish rally leading up to the big one in D.C. this weekend.
Like
the big
an alt-right flare-up?
Uh-huh.
See you there, y'all.
It was like an appetizer, before the main
There's
course.
that guy in the green.
The green guy
suit
stole the show.
Like a Pepe amuse-bouche.
Yeah.
Just something to wet your palate.
with his Yoshi ass.
Yeah. The green guy really kind of I feel like the story got swept away under the green guy. He had so much fucking flair. But he so, they decided to do a story about, Antifa and like, what is it? And I went on and sort of gave my spiel. They only give you like a few moments to really get your lines out. I wore some shitty fucking, military shirt I had lying around. I didn't really shave. I looked like shit on TV. I didn't realize this was going to be a thing.
Nice, dude.
But
You're an ambassador.
In your defense, like the set of the 24-hour Israeli news network just looks like the local news set from like Parks and Rec or something. Yeah.
I felt like it was on brand for all of the I'm so exhausted tweets.
I am exhausted, baby.
I didn't realize it was I-24 because it's 24 hours. I thought that was like the age they let you out.
Jake looked like he had just walked out of Narcan training or something.
Hell yeah, dude. Took all the Narcans. But I
could perform.
So it was cool. I got to give my little spiel and stuff, and I think I got most of what I wanted to say out, and I got a great screen grab of me with the question, "What is Antifa?" underneath me, and I thought it was kind of interesting, or it's kind of sad rather, because like the reason I started doing this show is because a year ago when Charlottesville happened, all these dumb mainstream news networks were like doing like stories about, where they're asking the question, "What is Antifa?" And I was like, that seems wildly under like you're doing a bad job. If,
Misleading.
Like if I'm like some idiot that works at a restaurant and does comedy and I know more about this than you, then like that's kind of spooky. Like, you know, you think a year after that.
We already decided they were the violent alt-left.
Yeah.
Like, how could you forget?
Yeah, even that as a story would have more credibility than just like, what is this? Like, what do you mean? This has been happening for like quite some time, you know. So that was kind of funny and kind of sad.
Since the 30s.
Yeah, exactly.
They're gaslighting our Antifa super soldiers.
Who is Barack Obama?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's such a silly thing for the question to be like, now what is this? You know?
Wait, are we saying Antifa now?
I don't know.
What is it, Gabe? How do you say it?
It feels
say it in
like
Spanish?
a loved relative when you go Antifa.
Yeah.
Antifa.
Yeah, Tiafa.
But anyway, like that was fun. But the thing that was funny about it was that you know, I am exhausted and I've got a lot of shit going on.
You need some modafinil.
I don't what?
Oh, you know, some fighter pilot speed.
Oh hell yeah,
Keep
dude!
you up for 24 to 48 hours.
Flying to the danger.
I get some of that shit.
Yeah, I feel like the White House doctor was just handing that stuff out like Pez. Yeah, the Obama administration was on it. The Trumps are probably on it now too.
Sweet.
The name for it is Provigil. That's the...
Oh, my friend of the show, James Inman, took that shit a long time ago. I remember him talking about it.
Yeah.
The guy went crazy.
Finance bros love it. Well, when you don't dream for 48 hours, you kind of sort of like build a simmering psychosis.
You lose the ability to dream, but you gain the ability to fly a jet.
Yeah, dude. So this guy asked me to do the show, and I'm fucking tired, and you know, I've got this show, and I do stand up, and I got a fucking job, and I got a lot of shit going on, and I have sleep apnea, and I'm just fucking falling apart.
Don't forget the cat.
And the cat, I also got to take care of this cat, and so I found myself in a weird situation, kind of personally, where I was like supposed to go on a date with my partner Sid, you know, and got asked to be on fucking Israeli TV, and it really fucked up my shit because I had to cancel a date, and it sucked.
This would be a great sitcom episode.
It's the weirdest, like, Everybody Loves Raymond type plot
She's
ever.
like, you have to choose between these Israeli media moguls.
Who's it going to be? Me or the state of Israel?
Yeah. This Mossad-funded media site.
The thing, so that plays into this because honestly, I was like kind of aware of what this thing is, and I was like, man, I should go do this though. And so I tweeted about it, you know, blow off some steam, and I was just like, haha, LOL, destroying my relationship to go on Israeli TV in the middle of the night. And then the guy who was going to interview me, what's his name? His name's something Schuster. I don't know. I won't put it anywhere. It's some guy who used to work for MSNBC who will not hear this, who now works for this I-24 network, saw the tweet. I guess he was looking me up, and then he retweeted it, and he was like, we are not beholden to any state. Just so you know, we're a completely objective news network, but still excited to see you here tonight at whatever. Thanks for coming on the show or whatever. And I was like, whoa, okay, man. You know, I'm just fucking around here on Twitter. I'm a comedian. I didn't really think about it.
Maybe you're new to Twitter, news broadcasting gentlemen, but we say things we don't mean.
Yeah. So then I go, they send me a car, and I go to fucking Times Square, and I go to this building, and I show up, and they put makeup on me, and I'm sitting in the green room, and he comes in, and he's like, haha, you know, or his assistant comes in, okay, you know, your name's this, again, we're not, you know, propaganda or whatever, and then he leaves the room, and then the guy who booked me, who listens to Chapo and Cumtown and shit, he comes in the room, and he's this, like, you know, this guy with this thick Israeli accent, and he just sort of, like, saunters in and sits down, and he goes, yeah, so this is I don't even know how to do the accent. But he's like, this is Israeli propaganda.
No,
you
that's
know?
good.
I'm just doing some Borat shit or whatever. But he just blankly is like, yeah, so they were lying to you. This is absolutely propaganda. And I was like, okay, well, what's going on here? Is this like an RT situation, or like, you know, how are you getting us on? He's like, well, you know, it's the guys with all the money, the big money guys, CEOs. I mean, we broadcast in France, here, Israel, you know, these couple other countries, and he's like, they all watch the French one.
Nice.
So he says, yeah,
no one watches it.
when we translate the French shit, we're real careful, and we don't call, the West Bank this and that and whatever, and they use all these coded words. But in English, no one watches the fucking English one except for a bunch of old people in Florida and shit.
We call the children small soldiers. You see, the movie Small Soldiers was never released in Israel as it was too sympathetic to the wrong people.
Yeah. So he let me just come in and do my thing on the network, and he's just sort of like subverting this like propaganda network, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's some agent shit.
He stuck his neck out pretty hard, and I asked him about it if I could talk about it. He said, yeah, I didn't give a fuck because they'll just never hear this. So it doesn't really matter. But anyway, that was pretty cool. I don't think I really reached anyone other than a bunch of shitty old people in Florida that got real mad at me. Someone on Facebook was like, there's like a angry Facebook thread underneath the segment that the I-24 released, and somebody was like, the only real anti-fascists are the Israeli Defense Force fighting against Hamas.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, just shit like that.
They have the training.
A bunch of people called me a greaseball, told me to go take a shower and shit. That was it.
If they're real anti-fascists, how come they don't know Krav Maga? How are they expecting to defeat these fascists in armed combat using a chair or a stick?
It's just weird what their definition of fascism is, because all these people's points is like, well, these Antifa are the real fascists. And it's like, are they a government? Are they a fucking occupation? I mean, it's a bunch of Adam Friedlands and shit.
Well, it's not about an ethno-state. We know that for sure. That's item number one. That is not fascism.
Yeah.
Just imagine some random person in Florida, like high off of Percocet, half awake, and just like, why is this yawning sanitation worker yelling at me?
Yeah.
Well, the average age had to be like over 60. You're describing Florida viewers on the Israeli television network? Those are all Jewish retirees.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
or one very cool kid.
You could definitely tour Boca Raton now.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was that, and then I went and I watched Sorry to Bother You last night, and I liked it a lot, but it was kind of heavy because I was like, I mean, it was a really good film, and I don't want to give away anything for spoilers or whatever, but, like, essentially what was kind of interesting to me about it was that, like, I got so hard it was happening thematically because this guy is put in this situation where he's, like, he lives it with his uncle, and he's, like, everyone in his life is like, hey, you fucking loser, like, make the money to fix all this shit. We all need you to make this money. And then also, at his job where he's doing exactly that is like, suddenly now you're a class traitor and everyone's mad at you for doing the thing. And it's like, this inherent like flaw in capitalism that puts people in a situation where you're like fucked either way. And I was just like watching in the theater like, yeah, I'm also, ow,
Yeah, well, it's really hard. I mean, you're describing this tension between like a neoliberal version of meritocracy and solidarity with the rest of your class.
Yeah, for sure. It made me feel like an asshole for, like, I'm trying to get rich off this show. I also believe in this show, but I want so badly to get podcast rich and buy a fucking bunch of dumb video games with Mullen and, those idiots.
Well, what I think is really great about podcasting is that you can, I mean, it's listener sponsored. If you're getting the Patreon, then it's just people who want to listen to you. It's like the most democratic way to make your income.
People we conned into paying to listen to this. No, I mean,
we're not going to reach that level of wealth anyway until we start doing the ads for arms dealers.
Yeah.
Now I've got these vitamins. I've got these vitamins that'll help you be an even better arms dealer.
I know, but even on like such a small level, I mean, I don't know. I guess I just really got. I'm fucking exhausted, and like that's what's going on here, and I'm like, I don't know. The just core conflict of it really spoke to me. But the other thing I thought was really interesting about the movie, though, is that like, if you're lefties like us, the movie is beating you over the head with a very obvious point about capitalism. But people that aren't like us are probably going to watch it and just not get it at all, even though it's a point that's being beleaguered like to a comic extent.
I liked it. It was it took the format all Hollywood movies have, where the main character succeeds due to some unique special trait he has, and that uplifts all boats and then fixes his life, and then took that and the end of the movie has nothing to do with that, It's really hard to talk about this without spoiling things. And
Well,
Yeah, well, there's one main thing.
Yeah, without spoiling things, it also speaks to like the futility of individual empowerment, especially with the minority who gets rich and like is the one who makes it, and that's who Cassius is supposed to be, and that is like an idea that I feel like more industry people are buying into earnestly. Like if you look at fucking a show like Master of None, if you look at like this Rich Crazy Asians movie that's coming out, and how like that's like a form of like minorities advancing, where this movie takes that and turns it on its head, and see how that all backfires and blows up in your face eventually.
Yeah, I guess I'm just cynical because that is so obvious to me, and I was watching it and I was like, yes, this is so cool that someone told this in a major motion picture. But
He also wrote it in 2011.
But yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting because, like, I guess I'm cynical because I'm reading takes from it and, like, New York Times pieces, and, like, there's just there's people just so clearly not getting it. There's, like, one person that's, like, one person wrote a review of it in the Times that was like, this is a dystopian, futuristic story. And it's like, no, it's about what's happening right now. It's not even about what's happening right now. It was written during Obama. And some guy tweeted at Boots Riley and said, like, this is such a great movie about the excesses of the Trump era and shit. And he's like, no, I wrote it during Obama and published it as a book during Obama because it's about the same system that we were under during Obama too. It's not about Trump.
And that dude was like, wrong.
Yeah.
My man direct as hell.
I think it's a unique movie for right now because there's been so few films that have that class analysis in them, where actual solidarity and I guess union protesting that's never really brought in. Like I think of movies like They Live, which I'd say like an an ancestor of this one.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
In that, like
With more wrestling.
in a lot of these other films, it's like you either kill like the one big bad boss who's in charge of the company, or you blow up the radio station that's sending out the signal that brainwashes us. And here, that isn't an option.
Right.
The only option is to have solidarity with other people who are going through the same thing as you.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I just am afraid people aren't going to get it. Because, like, what? They Live led to, like, Banksy. Like, I think he's pretty derivative of They Live.
Well, They Live led to the character in this movie that is now the character in Sorry to Bother You that's his girlfriend. Like,
yeah, totally.
like,
yeah.
Art is never going to be. Art is a reflection of the culture that we live in. Art isn't revolutionary ever. It's the end point of culture.
Yeah.
Wait, go back to what you were saying a second ago about Banksy and They Live.
I think that Banksy is very derivative of, like, They Live, but what he does with it is take, like, They Live sort of concept of, these, like, images that show you the real gruesome, thing underneath the veneer of society. And he sort of does that, but he doesn't really follow through with it and then, offer any solution to the problems through this, the way Sorry to Bother You has the very, like, deliberate message of solidarity, right? So, like, I think that people are going to watch Sorry to Bother You and be like, oh, yeah, that reminded me of Banksy. I totally, and, like, not get the really important medicine that was inside all that sugar,
That time I saw Ronald McDonald wearing shoes with fucking Disney on them, I was like, oh, fuck. That's just like this movie.
Maybe I'm cynical, but that's exactly what I think people are going to do with this fucking movie.
Well, that's what you do if you want to like neuter a movement, you turn the movement's heroes or leaders into icons. So it's like the Che Guevara T-shirt.
Yeah.
Now there's going to be a T-shirt with it's going to be like a horse wearing a Che Guevara beret.
Yo, I want to be a painting.
And it'll say Sorry to Bother You.
A horse for no particular reason if you haven't seen the film.
Whatever. Look, man. Hey, look, you guys have Wikipedia, and I live in the I feel I'm post-spoiler. I don't care. I'm not going to spoil this movie, but honestly, grow up, everybody.
All right, if we keep talking about this movie, I'm going to spoil it.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Also, of the show, grow up.
If you haven't, I'll put a spoiler warning like in the beginning of the episode. But if you listen to this show and you haven't seen this movie yet, what are you
not
doing?
woke,
You're fucking
son.
up.
You have a
You're
lot of
fucking
growing up to do. Why don't you pay your bills and move into a vampire's
Cancel that
castle?
subscription for a week, spend that money, and go see the movie.
Anyway, that's just kind of where I've been at this week. other than that, we'll get right into the news of the week after this. I just wanted to address a couple of listener notes I've received via like the Patreon and DM and stuff like that before we get into the full meat of the episode. First one was about what happened with Patreon. They did boot a bunch of people because they fucking told a bunch of people's banks that this Patreon payment is like a fraudulent thing or whatever. If
Those
that
people
happened,
were revisionists, and they are not welcome in the Patreon community.
if that happened, somebody reached out to me because they still can't get the bonus episode from last week. Hit me up. I'll figure out something. I'll figure out a way to get you access to the bonus shit and everything. Sorry about that. That really fucking sucks, but I think they're sorting it out. Another thing is somebody asked me something that's been on my mind for a while, which is it was about jokes that we did in the Billionaire Mortal Kombat episode that were kind of lowbrow and crude and a little bit like racist.
I
maybe
just call
even
them ride-in base.
I had nothing to do with it, but I wish I did.
Raghav was not there to stop us. He's very strong.
Yes.
I speak on behalf of only myself when I say this, but I just wanted to give a quick sort of note about it. I'm going to do an entire episode about comedy. I'm probably going to do an episode about Nanette whenever the fuck I get around to watching it. I just really don't want to. And I hope you understand that as someone who's been doing comedy for like 10 years, I don't like watching comedy. It's all homework. I hate all of it, but I'll do it for this show.
Oh,
but
I like watching comedy.
But I have a lot of like theories about it and a lot of opinions. And the reason that I kind of don't want to just go, oh, hey, sorry that I said something kind of racist is that, I was being ironic, and I think for me, jokes take the power out of shit like that. And, I think that you should be equally lowbrow and offensive about sort of everything to sort of take the piss out of all of it. And I am on Cumtown sometimes. It would be foolish of me to start this show and sort of lead people down a road of thinking that I'm like a moral joke teller and like in line with a lot of like liberal styles of like speaking truth to power and all that stuff, and then have you hear me eventually on Cumtown. And
this is like finding out your mom has a second job as a stripper.
It's like, look,
I'm not all virtues, okay? Sometimes I get nasty with my pod friends.
So you're an escort and you're a stripper?
Look, I'm running for office, and just to be upfront and fully transparent, I've had multiple affairs, and my partner is totally okay with it. We are swingers.
That is exactly that's what I'm doing here.
Jake is a comedic swinger. You can't judge him. That's kink shaming.
Yeah, I'm just fucking around.
He's in a poly triad right now with a primary and a secondary.
I know for the racist comments I said on that episode, I'm very sorry, and I'm disappointed in Jake for not joining the right side of history.
I didn't hear the ep, but as someone who hangs out with you people and we all joke around, I think we've been doing comedy long enough. We're kind of overexposed to a lot of this shit, and this shit does kind of drive you crazy after a while, and you do fall into like an irony trap, and you get irony poisoned, especially if you're on the internet all the time, and you're also exposed to all this performative liberal woke stuff that gets so tiresome, and it's so second nature to us that and I get why people don't like this kind of humor, but if you're a comedian and you're around this stuff all the time, your reflex is going to be as ironic as possible.
And it's not coming from a place of like, punching down or whatever.
It's coming from
funny.
A place of unhealthy detachment from any sort of worldview.
Also,
that's where
not
it's
to
coming
mention,
from.
This was an episode where it was a tournament of the world's richest people.
Right.
So how down punching can you do in that much context? I don't know.
No, I agree. I mean, I'll defend my my fucking point. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm not mad at this person for reaching out to me and talking about it. Like, I gladly will engage people in this conversation. It's just that, I want to explain why I feel that way, and I would rather do that than just sort of like kowtow and turn this into fucking NPR, because this is a show that should be entertaining, because we're fucking insane internet comedian people,
I
Jake.
blame Danny Felton. I did nothing wrong.
I just want to say right now, as sort of an advocate for all of the voiceless and those that feel like they've been punched down to, thank you for holding a space and enriching the discourse right now, Jake.
You're welcome, Gabe. I was punching down to hand you a helping hand, to bring you up, a reverse punch back up into society.
Because
I consider you down, Gabe.
I clinched on the fisting that I was getting and got pulled up. So thank you.
Yeah. That's what we're all about here. Pulling people up.
And fisting.
Becoming entrepreneurs and power callers so they can raise their friends up.
That's right. Oh, here's the thing. So this isn't a spoiler, but anybody that liked Sorry to Bother You, one movie it really reminded me of was Blue Collar. There was Paul Schrader, who wrote Taxi Driver, directed this film.
Whoa.
And it stars Richard Pryor, Yaphet Kotto, and your boy, the bad lieutenant, Harvey Keitel. And it came out in like 81 or 82, and it's about union workers in Detroit.
Oh, cool.
Right, like at the end of.
Is it fascist like Taxi Driver?
Not fascist. Very, very much in line with the working class, but it shows the tensions that the workers have between the boss and between their unions that are not like really helping them enough. And it also deals with these issues of merit. So like guys that are doing a little bit better getting coaxed into becoming management, and sort of like that's how they get you.
I thought it was the class analysis response to Do the Right Thing.
Yes.
That's how I felt. Yeah.
But
hey,
everybody
how about
should
this?
see Blue Collar.
Travis Bickle. How about Travis Pickle? He's like,
All right.
he turned
Stay
himself
salty.
into a pickle.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. You guys like that, internet? All right, that one I actually will apologize for to the Patreon subscribers. That's the type of joke that I do find deplorable and disgusting.
It's offensive
Anyway, guys, what happened this
to
week?
Rick and Morty fans.
Fucking so much. Alex, what happened this week?
Okay, well, the government voted to increase military spending by $80 billion?
Yeah, it's like $780 billion. $716 billion defense bill that sets policy priorities for the Pentagon and is called the John S. McCain National Defense Authorization Act.
It's the John McCain Act because we will only be buying planes that crash.
Ooh. So
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, it passed. These things always pass, obviously. 8 Democrats voted no. God bless them. Durbin, Gillibrand, Harris, Markey, Merkley, Sanders, Warren, and Wyden. They all just sound like the 8 dwarfs or whatever. But Snoopy was in there. Cory Booker voted for it.
I saw that. Cory Booker. Also this week, accidentally held up a sign at an event that said no walls in Mexico, no walls in Palestine.
No walls from Palestine to Mexico.
Yeah.
And
How does
he
that
Whoa.
happen?
I don't think he can read.
I think somebody
He just
got
votes
him.
yes on everything. He'll take your sign. He'll sign your bill.
You don't understand. I didn't want to vote for Big Pharma. It's just I only know one word.
I think
People pleaser.
I think somebody got him. It really reminded me of
I
one
think they like flipped over the sign or some shit.
one time somebody one time Nick Mullen and this guy Bryson Turner, but when they were both living in Austin, went to a comedy festival in like Detroit or something, and the headliner was Dave Coulier, and Dave Coulier is a person from a thing from the 90s, so he hates it when you talk about Full House or whatever. He's got that weird curse of like, I am an artist or whatever.
You're like, what up, Uncle Joey?
Yeah, and they took this great picture with him. They were standing slightly in front of him, and they were like, all right, we're all gonna hold our thumbs up and do a thumbs up in the picture, but they're standing slightly in front of him, so he can't see, or they're standing behind him, I guess. He can't see that he's doing the thumbs up, but then the person on his right is doing the cut, and then he's de facto doing the it, and then Nick on the other side is doing the out.
Yes.
So they fucking tricked him into doing the cut it out.
An
Yes.
elaborate ploy.
Yeah.
Only offensive to this one famous man.
I think that's what happened to
And that's
Booker.
what
The
someone did
most
to Cory
violent
Booker.
Antifa act of them all.
Yeah,
Pranksterism.
but back to this bill. At $716 billion, it is now around 17% of the entire U.S. budget for the year. So that means almost 1 out of every $5 you're giving to the government is going to, like, putting 2 scopes on the machine guns instead of just 1, just so you feel good about where your money's going.
Machine gun binoculars.
Yeah, and a lot of people have made this point already, but we've been hearing Sanders and progressive Democrats talk about single payer for the last year and a half or so, and you see 12 op-eds every day about how are we going to pay for single payer? How are we going to do this? Where's this money going to come from? Not a single person ever questions this, and this just gets shoved down the throats of everybody.
Yeah.
And we pay for it every time.
You're like, look, we can't pay for these Band-Aids because we have to deploy 800,000 fidget spinners to all of our soldiers overseas.
Did you see that that like research that the Koch brothers did that actually proved that Medicare for all would be cheaper than just what we have right now?
This was the opposite of what we wanted.
Yeah, they tried to like mislead you with the headline. The headline was like, a lot of the headlines were like, this Medicare for all would cost $32 trillion, but like what they're not telling you is just doing nothing and staying the same would cost you $34 trillion.
Yeah. How the current
Christ.
system costs more, and when you introduce single payer, it removes administrative and marketing costs, which saves tons of money.
Yeah.
And also actually creates jobs that people can depend on because it's a government system.
Right, and a lot of the bloated budget of the capitalist insurance system is just people maintaining jobs, effectively monitoring other insurances. It's all wastes of time and money. Like, we're paying for people to do nothing under the current system. But The Intercept came out with an article last September in 2017 when the budget was about to be increased $80 billion back then. It was less than what it is now. And there was a review about how much it would cost to pay for Sanders' single-payer bill, and it was only like
47 billion per
47
year.
billion? So almost like twice that. We could have free college.
Yeah. The share of world military expenditures of 15 countries, the U.S. is obviously at the top of them with 36%, followed by China and Russia, who are respectively at 13 and 4%. And then Saudi Arabia is at 3%. Which is less than India, which is insane to me.
It's just that politically,
But India doesn't bomb as many people.
like maintaining U.S. hegemony
'Cause we're
isn't
cool.
a money problem
They just
anymore.
send their
Like, you
comedians here to bomb on stage.
Oh, wow.
Bitch.
Bum, 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 bum.
What are we doing?
I'm sorry.
I was getting
First-
too sincere. It's
First
fine.
year of my act? What's going on here?
I don't know.
Honestly, if you see any, there's like a generation of brown comedians still doing that joke in their act.
Yeah.
And every time I see it, my blood boils, and I say, I wrote that. They stole that from me.
I saw that on Monday. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, the Senate voted overwhelmingly for it. Also, I was reading the bill. I was reading a summary of the bill, and then I looked into it. There's a few $1 million dedicated to something called space war fighting.
This is the only
Yeah.
part of the bill I approve.
Yeah.
This fucking rules.
I'll
So
give up healthcare for space war fighting.
I'm going to read these two excerpts because it's so funny. But, okay, space warfighting. The legislation directs the Department of Defense to develop a plan to establish a separate alternative acquisition process for space acquisitions and directs the Secretary of the Air Force to develop and implement a plan to increase the size and quality of the space cadre within the Air Force.
Yes.
And then from the actual bill, this is the kind of drivel that keeps me up at night, guys. With the advice and assistance of the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the President, through the Secretary of Defense, shall establish under the U.S. Strategic Command a subordinate unified command to be known as the United States Space Command. Parentheses, in this section referred to as, quote, Space Command.
Just
Space Command.
For carrying out joint space warfighting operation.
Are the Starship Troopers, is that trademarked? Like, they can't just call it that?
Yeah,
would like to
that was
know
the
more.
first draft of the bill. Yeah, so Space Force is real, and that's great. But
Surrender your children.
we
Get up
can't have
there.
healthcare
Be a
because
space
of
pig.
them.
I can't wait until we get like the Jarhead style like pro fucking space war propaganda movie about like some guy on the fucking moon, like driving around in one of those moon rover things with like the Rolling Stones playing and shit.
All I had was half an oxygen tank and this neodymium tape.
If you've seen Interstellar, it's like not that far off.
I loved Interstellar. People hate that movie.
Matthew McConaughey's character in Interstellar is just like, what if we put cowboys in space? I'll fix the problem for you. What if we never tried sending a caring father up there?
What if we
Maybe
were
nurture the earth a little bit.
What if we
Big
were
strong arms.
racist on the moon?
You know where white supremacy hasn't spread yet?
Mars.
Yeah.
The red planet.
I guess what just like really bothers me about this is Republicans always going to vote to increase military spending. They're never not going to do it. They're little piggies who love guns. It's just who they are. But the only reason these bills pass, aside from the fact that Republicans control every lever of power in the country, is Democrats try to out-patriotize the Republicans. They want to be like the have you seen the movie Platoon?
They want the troops to like them.
And the troops are never going to like them. They want
some of the troops might like them, but it's not because they're not voting for military. It's not like all the troops are for like increasing military spending.
You know what the Democrats need is like a high school movie lesson about just being yourself, man.
I just imagine like a Democrat like being a cornball comedian at a USO tour, like, "Hey guys, you like me?" Like just
the girls are coming back, I swear. But in the meantime, I got an air conditioner. This thing's
heard of
blowing
anal.
all over.
Well, like the other thing that's infuriating. One, like last month, the White House issued a report about how the U.S. can't afford veterans' health care without cuts, and then they've shoved this bill down our throat. But I think the thing that bothers me most about how this is always written about is if you ever read any story about defense bills, every year there's a new $1 trillion defense bill, and the only people they talk to are senators and think tank chuds. And it would be nice if they just got one brown person who's actually affected by the military to just be like, hey, don't do that. My family is dead. Please do not vote for this.
Please stop sending soldiers from my country to the School of the Americas. Please, no more juntas. No more juntas.
Yeah. I like the idea of objectivity in both sides does not extend to foreign policy or defense coverage at all, ever.
Yeah.
There was a lot in the Washington Post article we were reading on for research just about the deficit. You know, the signs of danger in the government. When the deficit is too high, that's when the people freak out.
Yeah, that's like the biggest bullshit scarecrow they prop up is like the
only
deficit.
anti-side was that the deficit would be too high, and nobody cares about that
Nobody
shit.
gives a shit.
The
We're all overdrafted.
Yeah,
We don't give a fuck.
economists, the deficit is the won't anybody think of the children.
Yeah. Well, somebody think of the deficit.
I always
I
have
don't give a fuck.
my philosophy is that the more in debt you are, the less people want you to die, because they need to keep you around to keep paying off your bill.
Yeah.
So
like insurance.
it's awesome to be in debt to other countries. Like the U.S. is like, what? You want us to default? Like, you know what I mean?
Let's run on that.
Someone's sounding a bit like Banksy.
Vote for single payer. We owe them money.
What if the moon is actually like a bank for werewolves?
But yeah, there's so much drivel that's contained in these articles too. Like they had this guy, Todd Harrison, director of defense budget analysis at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. But I don't know what they do there. But he goes, if you want the military to maintain all of our existing security commitments around the world, then you need a defense budget like this. But if you're willing to reduce some of those security commitments, you could make do with a much smaller defense budget, which is such a non-quote.
I've just lost so much time of my life.
Yeah, exactly.
If you spend less money, you'll save more money.
I know comedians that were Marines in Iraq, and then they finished their tour, and then they went back with like the Canopy Corporation or some other mercenary group to protect Chinese pipelines, and they'd make like $300,000 a year. Doing
nice.
that. And all that money that they're making, which is like triple what they would have made or more, like 6 times what they would have made as a U.S. serviceman, all that money's still coming from our government because we're outsourcing to like these mercenary groups.
Oh, like Blackwater shit.
Yeah.
Like black mask death squads with no oversight at all. They get a lot more money. But it is a normal amount of money
Cheney's
for
whole
a
thing.
New York comedian. So we can all relate to that.
They're just rolling around in drink tickets. Oh, man. Dick Cheney's outsourced comedy finally. Now I'm getting paid in dark drink tickets in some fucking hole in Fallujah.
My bar tab will blot out the sun.
But we can cut down. I guess all I'm getting at is like some of this stuff can just be cut down on when we get rid of paying consultants.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
They've made the official military smaller and outsourced to other people, even though the budget's gotten bigger.
It's that thing where they make a government thing smaller to sort of claim that it's like in keeping with conservative small government shit. But all you're doing is just turning all these like subcontracted fucking weirdos out into a extension of the government that then sucks up way more money than it would have.
Yeah, like all of these private prisons that are in play right now. So Civil Corp and the Geo Group.
Mm-hmm.
Both
Geo Group, who made a lot of detention centers too.
Yeah. So they're making all this money just housing kids and stuff. But it would be look. We could do it more effectively if it was not private prisons.
Now,
I
how is
just
it a
assumed
private
all-
prison if it's publicly traded? You see that shit? You see that shit Tommy Loren said on Twitter that everyone's making fun of her about? She got.
Oh, that's what she said?
She said, because Alex Jones got kicked off of Facebook and Twitter, and Facebook is a private
Free
company.
my man.
Come on the pod.
Tommy Loren was
God, that
tweeted
rule.
out. She was like, Facebook is publicly traded. It's not a private company because it's publicly traded. Therefore, it's a public company. She's trying to argue that it's like part
Checkmate.
of the government.
Dude, clap. Nationalize Facebook.
Yeah,
I'm into that.
she got owned just
Goldman
so
Sachs
hard.
is a public company.
Yeah. She tried to argue that it's like a government program, and therefore this is like a violation of free speech. It's so funny. These people don't understand the definition of free speech. I'm the only person that has had the government
What is
come
it?
fuck with them.
What is it?
The definition of free speech?
Yes.
Saying racist jokes on my podcast.
The Free Speech Haven Podcast. Sponsored by Lockheed Martin.
But like
Jake the Rattlesnake Flores.
Alex Jones got kicked off of these two huge platforms, right? And all these right-wing people like to say, "Oh, violation of free speech. This is cultural Marxism, and this is whatever." But it's like, like Roseanne lost her show, right? These are instances of these people getting fired by other people who were employing them to try to make money off of them.
Yeah.
It's not the government coming in and telling you can't have your sitcom anymore.
It's a private company
illegal.
that can do whatever they want.
Yeah, the difference there is whether it's fucking public or private.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Although as far as like the state of ideology is on the average American citizen, the government got rid of Alex Jones because he was too handsome.
Yeah,
They couldn't stand how nice his chest is.
he was
when-
too red.
He had too many
It's like,
steaks,
this
and it
dude's
threatened
too
them.
hot. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Well, does it matter that he's off YouTube or Facebook?
If you love Alex Jones, can't you just go to his website?
Yeah, I don't get
Get
it.
those hearts going.
Yeah, he just like posted an app, I think. So you can get a direct feed right to your phone.
Right.
You'll be fine.
They're
I
just
kind of wish he was
inspiring
still
him
on.
to
I don't want to go to his website.
Yeah.
do better. Did we want to talk about the Canada thing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Canada's what did they say exactly?
Okay, so
Or what did?
Saudi Arabia, the only world government you hear about all the time that is a kingdom, led by a king. Well, surprise, they've been cracking down on dissidents again, like they do every day. And after they arrested some female activists,
Human
Canada
rights activists, yeah.
Yeah. Canada's foreign minister tweeted that they did not like that. And then Saudi Arabia went into full lockdown in response. And as they're trying to get Canadian students, like Saudi Arabian students in Canada, to like switch schools. They've
It's like you have to leave McGill.
yeah, they banished their ambassadors. There must be a bunch of Saudi Arabians in Canada. I was in Montreal last week, and our Airbnb guy had Riyadh on the counter. Where do I fit into this story?
What? Really?
Yeah.
Why?
And we were clearly sleeping in his room too, which was like, oh, don't make me sleep in your room, man. I feel bad. And we set up a cot, and then the neighbors downstairs hit the ceiling. They hit the ceiling at us.
Damn.
What'd you do? You were just loud?
Well, it was
Did you just
so I was with
you
Danny
record a hot
Phelps,
podcast?
and we were like going to bed. Like we weren't like
Oh,
hanging out in the room.
You guys were
famous
just
racist Danny
Famous,
Phelps.
yeah, anti-East Asian activist Danny Phelps was undoing.
Went down there with a bunch of racist. Fucking, he's wearing a rice hat and shit.
Danny is also a bike messenger and carries what can only be described as like a military level of equipment on him at all time. And so he had around a 6-foot bed he carries with him and was setting it up in the room for like 2 seconds, and it hit the floor, and the people below just started banging on the ceiling, and then he started stomping on the floor, and I was like, I'm not going to fight people in Canada. Just shut up and lie down on the thing.
Damn.
Yeah. So I'm being targeted abroad by
Okay.
the Saudi Arabians. But what other? We have the Vox article up on here to
So
explain.
did they
real
have
quick.
like they went into like a flame war with Canada? Like, are they tweeting bad
It's a
things?
flame war.
They like threatened to 9/11 them or some shit.
Yeah, they went into that thing, and then the Saudi government tweeted this infographic, which featured an airliner headed for the Toronto skyline with Arabic quotes saying that goes, "He who interferes with what doesn't concern him finds what doesn't please him."
Oh yeah. I saw
Hashtag
that.
Saudi Arabia, hashtag Canada, which is fucking alpha move, dude. Alpha.
So are they basically just admitting
They
to
did
9/11?
Like, we got away with it once.
That's insane.
Also, they were going for a much skinnier building, so they got balls.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
They'll get a really good pilot for this one.
I feel like this is their Joe Pesci moment in Goodfellas.
That's exactly what I was
Like-
just thinking. It's like mob shit. Like, shame something would have happened to these huge buildings you have here in your living room, you know?
If it was a Canadian 9/11, though, it would have to be something simpler and more organic, like maybe a moose exploding in a hockey stadium.
A Canadian 9/11 has more denim.
Canadian 9/11, a.k.a. Surrey to bother you.
Canadian 9/11 would just be Nathan for you. He would be behind it. He's Canadian.
Yo, Canadian 9/11, that's when, all right, you're fucking, and I'm just kidding.
I trained as
Celine
an operator
Dion would sing a sad song.
and got really good grades.
How are we on time?
We're at about 45 minutes.
Oh, okay, we're good.
Yeah, we can wrap up in the
Yeah,
next
what do you?
5.
What should we wrap up with?
Jesus, you see this shit about Steven Seagal?
No.
Break it
No.
down. Tell me more. I loved him since Marked for Death and Hard to Kill.
He's like an official appointed ambassador to Russia now. I can't remember exactly in what capacity, like what level the job
right.
is.
He's like a goodwill ambassador to improve relations between the U.S. and Russia.
Yeah, dude.
Whoever can do the highest kick
With
gets
fighting,
that job.
it's one of those things that just got lost in the news week because it was like you saw it and you're like, is it even real? Like, did that happen?
Yeah, why are other countries that we're almost at war with just taking all of our weird '90s bros from us, like North Korea and Rodman, and now Steven Seagal in Russia?
It's clear they're forming an Expendables international.
We need more
Expendables.
money to maintain our strategic advantage of our expendables. It will
Yeah.
only cost another $13 billion.
It's the fight, the deficit, or something. I don't know. I don't understand. Politics has fried my brain.
They already have Ivan Drago. It's not fair.
Yeah. Well, it's like, why does anyone want Steven Seagal? He doesn't actually know how to do any of this shit.
Well, that's probably what their idea of like an American fucking
Superman.
badass dude is. Yeah, they're still watching. What was that CIA movie he was in? Above the Law. They're still watching like Above the Law and that boat movie Speed.
You could have told me any combination of vague action movie words like that, and I would have believed it was a Steven Seagal movie.
No, it sounds a lot like that defense bill I read off.
That thing that Saudi Arabia tweeted sounds like a Steven Seagal movie. It sounds like what they're threatening him with. The other thing that happened is that Michael Bay is apparently producing a movie about a podcast that's so dangerous it like drives people crazy and into murder and ruins their lives and shit.
He's making
my
a movie
God.
about our
Cometown?
podcast.
So it's like Pump Up the Volume, but for podcasting. And
Yeah,
there's like,
essentially.
There's a hard Harry. It's just too hard.
Yeah.
And,
It's like talk radio. You guys
Yeah.
ever see Talk Radio, that Oliver Stone movie?
No.
It's basically about he's like a Rush Limbaugh but skinny kind of guy. He's like a conservative free speech dude in the 80s, and then he gets killed by one of his fans or something at the end. Or
No, that sounds cool as shit. That
Yeah,
sounds like
yeah.
what's happening to Mullen right now. I had lunch with him the other day. He's going crazy.
He's going to be killed by one of his fans.
It sounds like his fans are driving him crazy.
His fans are going to kill Adam.
I'm not even joking. Yeah.
It's the government's like, we don't even need COINTELPRO for this. His fans will do it.
They're half of the Patreon.
yeah.
It's like, you don't
Yeah.
think that many people listen to your podcast, right?
Cancel the mission. This one's done himself.
Right. It's like the CIA was about to kill Malcolm X, and then they're like, oh, the nation did it for us.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Cumtown is just like Malcolm X. You heard it.
for ironic racist jokes.
By any cum necessary.
The one that the movie that reminds me most about Cumtown is I think somebody tweeted this a long time ago. It made me laugh. There's this movie called Into the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah.
It's a John Carpenter movie. It's like about like a Stephen King type like paperback horror writer, and like his books are driving people crazy, and the streets are just like sort of flooded with weird wandering guys with like a board and with a nail in it and like dark rings under their eyes, and they just run up to you and go like, "Do you read Sutter Kane?"
Oh, damn.
Somebody like tweeted a picture of that, and it was like, "Do you read or do you listen to Cumtown?" Maybe it made a lot of sense to me because I met a lot of Cumtown listeners when I was on tour, and they all have these dark rings under their eyes. And I did a podcast with Tim Faust, and I mentioned Cumtown to him, and he goes like, "Oh yeah, apparently the people that listen to that show don't like me," and it sounded like he took it a little personally, and I was just like, "No, you don't understand. They don't like Nick. They don't like anybody."
They're so upset.
Yeah, let some of them like us or listen to the show hatefully or something. I don't give a shit. Just
Please
glad
support
you're
our
here.
show hatefully.
Send me weird things. I'm very bored.
I will try to stop my friends from being racist again. I'm your only hope.
Yeah. I guess in summation of all this stuff, the big sequel to Unite the Right is happening this weekend in D.C.
White Power Coachella.
Unite the right too. Two rights don't make a left.
Yeah. Unite the Right 2, Electric Boogaloo, Unite Harder, etc. So there should be,
United.
hopefully, I don't know, hopefully nothing that terrible happens. Hopefully some more embarrassing green guys. There was like another shitty guy at the one in Portland this weekend. I don't know if you guys saw. There was like a viral video of a fucking like a racist guy wearing a shirt that says Pinochet did nothing wrong doing the cha-cha slide.
He was the spokesman. He was the one the news was interviewing.
Yeah.
The murderer did nothing wrong. Sure.
I just love that he was raising awareness to Chilean politics.
Right, to Pinochet.
Yeah. Ugh.
Which is definitely like all he has to do to not have the media turn against him is just wear a plain shirt. They want to side with the fascists. All he has to do is not wear a pushing people out of airplanes is good shirt. And he can't even do that. And he has to dance at you.
I know. Anyway, racists have no place in our cha-cha slides. Take back the cha-cha slide. That's what I say.
Take it back. People slide.
Yeah. To the left, to the left. How about that, huh? You know what I'm saying? Like politically.
And forward. Together.
Now, Charlie Brown.
Move on.
All right.
got any
Anybody else?
plugs?
Anything? Plugs or anything before we get out of here?
Just come to my weekly show every Thursday, Cherry Tree Bar in Park Slope. Follow me, ACLU Official.
Hey, this is Gabe Pacheco. You can find me at gabepacheco.com. If you like politics, listen to me on the Katie Halper Show. And I have a movie review podcast I just started called Eat, Pray, Judge.
Nice.
Ooh.
So, not political.
My 3 favorite things.
Tack, you got anything?
Yes, just follow me on Twitter at Patak Jokes. I'll retweet a show if I'm on it. I'm not going to be at Bad News for the next 2 weeks if you heroic fans want to keep coming out to that one. But I'll be back soon. The show's still good. Carmen Legal will be there. She's very funny.
Feral jokes and everything. I keep all my shows on my pinned tweet. I think I'm coming to Texas soon. Other than that, I don't really have anything. Just, thanks for listening. Sorry about our fucking bullshit Patreon overlords and their dumb bullshit. That's it.
Bye, babies.
Ciao.
Something racist.
Something racist. I'm Leonard Nimoy and something racist.